Okay, let's see where we are here. Well, I've got these parts for the steering in place. I've got the control pedals in. I broke this pedal here. I don't know how I did it, but I found the part and it's okay now. This was a bit problematic in that I tried to push it down too hard, and the connection here is a bit odd because I'm not sure if it is a good fit or not at this point. Just be aware that this is a tricky thing. There's not that much contact, just like the Academy one. Just don't handle it heavily. Treat it with kid gloves, so to speak. Now, you may have noticed that this one broke as well. When I just cut it off the tree, I didn't really even do anything, but it busted. But that's not a big deal because I can just plop it in there. But that's not how it goes. Okay, just a heads up. I thought I had these parts located properly, but of course, I've got them switched around. So just be aware when you go to do yours, this bigger bump side is the one that goes into the transmission. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little surgery here. And I'm going to just switch these out. So in a way, it was good that this one broke because now I can line it up properly. So let's see, did I cut that right?
So just to clarify, what's happened here is I've taken D20 and D21 and I've transposed them from where they're supposed to be.
I think I might have to trim this one back a bit.
So then I thought, well, maybe I can just cut the upper part of D20 off and D21 off and then just switch them out that way. But no, I wasn't thinking clearly enough to know that I actually have to move the whole everything. So I thought for sure, I checked and double checked and I looked at the drawing and I thought that I'd gotten it right. But in the end, all's well that ends well. But just be aware of that. Just really study the drawings before committing to glue.
Okay, I've changed my mind at how I'm going to approach fixing this screw up. And I'm just going to remove these and try again, I guess. So, okay, I'm going to reattach this rod here. The reason I'm doing it this way now is because I think the bottom parts were not aligned. Even though I snipped them off, the top part would be good, but the bottom part, not so good. So, back to square one here. Right. I think that makes sense now.
Yeah, so I basically just removed the bottom part that was glued into the floor as well. And then I'm going to put them all together and then glue them in the right spot.
So I don't know if I'm getting like dyslexic in my old age, but holy smokes, eh? All right, maybe I'll use some glue to melt that peg into the spot there. All right. Okay, fixed it. I think. Okay, I'm gonna have to learn how to pay attention. I'm so broke I can't even pay attention. I got that sorted, thank God.
Here I'm just putting D21 back together before I glue it in its correct place. This being the first time I've put this kit together, yeah, I kind of just went step by step when actually what I could have done here, particularly with these small sort of like rods that attach to the control handles here, is I could have put those together before I even painted them white. You know, like I could have made it as a grouping and before I painted them, and it would have been a lot less of a hassle. So maybe just keep that in mind when you put yours together. Maybe try to build as much of it as a unit as possible and then put it in there. By that I mean parts KA9, DA13, D21, KA9, DA17, and D20. Some of those you might have to keep off from each other, like maybe DA17 and D20. But you should be able to get the other ones together before you actually glue it onto the floor. And some of the painting you might want to take a look at where these parts are gluing into, those half rounds on the floor that they glue into. I don't think they would be just white where they go into the floor. So
So let's see, we've got this tubage. Okay, I just wanted to point something out that look at all these arrows pointing to everything. It's pretty confusing. I might suggest you guys use a highlighter or something to help you understand which arrow is which. Let's glue this part down. Okay, this one.
All right, redemption. I just gonna touch up the paint and no one will know the difference. Thank God. I'm gonna paint up some of the seating here. Apparently there's a line here where the frame of the chair intersects with the padding. But what I'm going to do is mask off a bit of a white thing there. Yeah, not thin enough. All right, those are masked off, and now I just gotta mask off the back. What I do sometimes when I'm painting things is I'll take a tongue depressor like this and I'll put some double-sided tape on it, and then I can put the part on and spray it out.
Next time, I'll paint this before I glue it on there. I think this being a new kit, I'm excited to get it done. That's why I'm kind of making mistakes. All right, so I should tape off the floor too. All right. Okay. So the thing about mission model paints is that it doesn't really have much of a binder in it, and it's water based. So if it gets water on it after you've actually painted something with it, it reactivates the paint and it comes off. So to remedy that, I've got some Future that I use, and I mix that in there. I guess it's like a polymer. It's like a binder. So using that will fix the paint in place. So that's what's going to happen.
So this is really shiny now, and I'll have to come back with a flat. Now the reason you're asking yourself, why did you make it so much work? Well, I wanted to try out this color as compared to some of the other ones I could have used, because I just want some variation. And the Tamiya olive drab is pretty dark, and I thought this one might give me a different look. I could have brush painted that. Like you're asking yourself, why did you max that off and spray it? Well, I doubt I could have got a sharp an edge on the side of it. Okay, this one I did it a little bit differently. I did the future full up, but then I also came back with it without any future in it, or whatever was left in the pot kind of thing, like in airbrush. So it might have a little bit more staying power, but it also is a little bit more flatter in sheen, right? And again, why am I masking this off? Because I doubt I could get this painted as nicely with a brush along the edge. Okay, it was just a dry fit. I'm going to use some of this Humbrol metal coat. I love this for doing raw metal, raw iron, because it buffs up really nice. So I'm going to put that on some of this area here, maybe some here. Maybe there'd be a bit of wear on these high points.
So I've got to add a scratch-built line of some sort here. Is it a cable or is it a pneumatic line? I'm not sure. But there's a little drawing here that they show you. This little star means scratch build. But the drawing is a little bit misleading because it looks like it comes out at a 90-degree angle, but it actually comes down along the same plane and then it inserts into here. So yeah, just be aware of that. I'm going to use some stretch sprue, I think. So we'll just let that harden up and then we'll take care of the other part. I can paint it when it's out like this too. It is a bit stiff. Let's see. I might change this to a piece of solder. All right, I'm gonna paint that black, even though it says to do it olive drab. I just think whatever it is, I'm gonna paint it a black color. So I've got these. And they're a lot more flexible. So I'm going to use this one, which is 0.3 millimeter. All right, so we'll get some CA, glue that in. You know, if I were to do this again, I would maybe drill a hole in here for this to go into. Okay, we're gonna get into some photo etch now. All right, so what we got here, there's a bit of a protective cover on this. And personally, I don't find it useful. So I gotta do these seat belts. Damn, where did that one go now? Oh, God, it's just so frustrating. Always losing stuff. All right, so with things like seat belts, it's a good idea to anneal it. I've seen people do annealing on all of the photo etch, and you don't need to do it. For things like boxes and whatnot, anything that's just straight, you don't need to anneal. You only need to anneal if there's going to be any twisting or flexing, or, if you're going to be making a tube. I don't know, I guess that goes like that. Not sure. Let me take a look at the instructions. Yeah, it looks like it just goes straight across. Female part, if I can call it that, of the belt. You can see there's a little bit of a angle to the belt that fits with that, so that's good. So I'm going to prep all of these. Maybe a little bit of sanding. Get rid of the attachment points. I mean, that's one thing that I always... one of my pet peeves is when people don't clean off the little attachment points. You got to do it all the way and clean it up. It is very fragile, these little wire pieces of it. So I'm not even going to mess with that stuff. So I am just going to, I think that last one I kind of like got it a little bit too hot. But you can see the color change. That means you've annealed it. You can actually burn this stuff and melt it. Like, I would never anneal this end because it would just melt away. All right. So that stuff is now annealed. I would like to paint these before I glue them on, but okay, so let's get a little clear glue. Notice how it sticks to the tweezers, but not to what I want it to stick to? Oh well.
All right, then let's take a look at painting these. I'm going to use this Vallejo model color, buff color. Now, so there might be a better way of doing this, like maybe etching the parts with vinegar, give it a bit of a tooth, but I'm just going to keep putting paint on it, and eventually it kind of settles down. All right. So I'm using some water-based Vallejo paint here, and it's just beating up like I suspected it would. Um, I think there's a lot of work that goes involved in these photo etch seat belts that I think there's an easier way to accomplish the same thing. And I think this is about where I said, okay, let's try making them with tape, because the tape's got a nicer fabric look to it than that metallic thing. Okay, I managed to paint them up, and I got a layer of paint on there. It's not as nice as I'd like, a little bumpy here and there, but it looks okay, I guess. And now I'm trying to, after the paint is dry, I'm trying to put them in position. And as you can see, they're not really all that malleable. I mean, you can sort of get them to lie down a bit, and I suppose, if I were to work with it even more, or, but, I was just really not happy with how, they were looking. And I just figured, why am I wasting my time with these things that aren't even going to look like fabric? They're going to just look like they're so stiff. Anyway, I don't know, maybe they're not so bad, but I ended up taking them off, and then I had to clean the glue off the back of the seat where I glued them on, and I also had to repaint the seat later on. You'll see that. And so, I don't know. Maybe I could have made it work, but it just wasn't, you know, they're just so stiff. Yeah, I'm just not happy with these and how they look and how they're sort of laying on the surface of the seat. So off they come. I'll also add at this point, yeah, maybe I could have taken more preparation on the photo etch, like maybe, sanding it with like a 600 grit, just where the belts are, where the fabric is supposed to be. Maybe I could have given it a bit of a tooth. Maybe I could have used some fancy schmancy metal primer, which basically is just a really thick, clear, plasticky kind of thing that, probably would have chipped off anyways, because when you're folding and bending these things, that the paint doesn't stay. Um, I guess I chose the acrylic because I thought because it was a bit plasticky, it might be able to move around with the bending and stuff. If I were to use enamel or something like that, it would maybe take forever to dry. If I used lacquer, yeah, maybe that would have worked if I had been able to, give it a bit of a tooth with like a 600 grit or something like that, and then sprayed it out with my airbrush. But, the paint is just not going to stay on metal. And so for me, it just comes down to that. And the flexibility of this stuff just, so fundamentally, it's just not the right stuff to do. Like, I know you can get almost like fabric seat belts for like 30-second scale airplanes and stuff like that, for Spitfires or whatever, and like that would be perfect for something like this. All right. You know, I tried to get these to sit down on the chairs, but the metal is just retarded. You know, it's not going to work. And, you know, when I thought about the tape idea, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make my own seat belts. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the ends off, and then I'm going to cut some masking tape as the straps. So, yeah, definitely, I think I'm going to rethink using these photo etch seat belts. I mean, if you've ever built a airplane and they have you know, Edward metal seat belts, they're not the right material, you know. So let's see what I can do making my own seat belts. Eh? Maybe before I go any further with this, I'm gonna try using this junk here. And maybe that'll etch it a bit so it'll hold the paint better. Because paint doesn't really stick to this metal. Yeah, the only reason I'm doing this is so that I can come back and paint the end pieces of the clasps where they click together. The metallic parts, I want to paint them silver, so that's why I'm trying to give them a bit of a tooth. But the rest of the belt is coming off. Time to commit. All right. So we've got that there. I want to reinforce that with a little crazy glue. So that looks pretty damn good to me. So I've got this other faded olive drab, and I've also got another one too. So I might do some fancy painting on these seats. Let's check that out. See if that's going to be something. All right, well, we're coming to the end of this video. One thing I did want to mention that I found out today, I guess, you know, the old Alzheimer's or something kicked in again, and for some reason I thought these cushions would be an olive drab. I don't know where I got that idea from, because they're actually supposed to be black according to the call out and from some pictures I've seen. So yeah, I don't know. This is maybe this is a retrofit of some sort. Haha. No, I don't know. Maybe I'll go back in and paint these black, or maybe I'll just leave it the way it is, because yeah, you live and learn, right? I've never really gotten this involved with a Stuart before, so it will be a situation where more will be revealed. So, with that being said, on that bombshell, in the meantime and in between time, that's another edition of Jet Scale Models. Y'all come back now, you hear?
I mean,